In episode 3 of Chasing the Sun, Rassie Rasmus made an interesting statement during a coaches meeting. He said that if Libbok is kicking well, he is our best number 10, above Pollard. Now this has obviously caused quite a lot of controversy online, with many people split on who to back, Libbok or Pollard. So in today's video, we're going to break it down, present both sides, and ultimately decide who we think is the best number 10 for the Springboks. So in order to figure this out, we're going to be looking at a lot of stats, we're going to be looking at a lot of games, but we will come to the bottom of it. Now, with the World Cup approaching, obviously Pollard was injured and wasn't included in the squad that was going to the World Cup. He was put on the waiting list, which meant that Libbok had to fill in for the test matches before the World Cup, namely the ones against Argentina, Wales, and New Zealand, which went very, very well. South Africa ended up beating Argentina 24-13 away, Wales 52-16 away, and then obviously that historic 35-7 win over New Zealand away from home, where the Springboks played the 7-1 split. And I think Libbok performed quite well in those games. He scored 34 points in those games, and his kicking record was 15 out of 21, which is about 71%. So in the lead up and the build up to the World Cup, I don't think there was much talk about Libbok's kicking, just because of the results that South Africa were pulling off. A big win against Argentina away, a big win against Wales, and then obviously a massive win over New Zealand coming up into the World Cup. Libbok is also a very, very good rugby player. So I think that kind of blinded a couple of people and kind of took a little bit of the attention off of his kicking. And then we come in to the World Cup. Guys, just before we carry on with the video, I just want to ask a favor. 93% of you who watch this channel are not subscribed. So I just want to make sure that you're going to hit that subscribe button. The more of you that subscribe, the better these videos can get. So if you haven't, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's get back to the video. Where obviously Libbok is picked as the starting number 10. Pollard is still sitting in South Africa on the waiting list. And at that time, Libbok is South Africa's best number 10 because Pollard is injured, he's not in the squad, and Libbok has to take the reins. The Springboks come up against Scotland in the first game. Libbok has an absolute blinder of a game. The Springboks end up winning 18-3, but this is where the wheels started to fall off a little bit. Libbok only kicked 2 out of 5 kicks. Eventually, Faf took over, who didn't do much of a better job, but he had to take over because Libbok wasn't kicking that well. And then the media and the press kind of ran with this, like what's going on with Libbok's kicking. But Jacques Nienaber and Siya Kolisi defended him by saying he's allowed to miss kicks if he wins man of the match. And that kind of put under light his kicking, but also how good his abilities are in general play. He's at a very, very big attacking threat. He's good on defense. He reads the game well. He's got good vision. He can put cross kicks in. He can put the kicks over. His general in-play kicking game as well is very, very good. The only problem we saw was off the tee. Then Malcolm Marx gets injured after the Scotland game during a training session, and who do they bring up? Pollard. Whether that was always part of the plan or if it just kind of happened that way, we'll never really know. But now the coaching staff had a decision to make. Are they going to back Libbok, who's been playing very, very well for South Africa? Yes, his kicking off the tee hasn't been great. Or are they going to back Pollard, who hasn't had any game time recently? Well, good thing the next game was against Romania, where Libbok or Pollard didn't play. Damian Willemse played at 10, and then Faf de Klerk ended up coming on and taking over from Damian Willemse in that game. Then the next game in the World Cup is against Ireland, one of the best teams in the world. There was a lot of talk of, are they going to go for Libbok in this game? Are they going to go for Pollard? Well, they backed Libbok, and he ended up playing all 80 minutes. South Africa ended up losing that game 13-8. Libbok only kicked 1 out of 3 kicks that he had, and Faf missed 2 as well. So if you just add up those points, South Africa probably should have won that game. I know this has been a big talking point. A lot of Irish fans come for me when I say this, but just looking at the kicks missed, South Africa probably should have won that game. But it was clear to see that there was a massive problem off of the kicking tee. Damian Willemse didn't really want to do it. I'm not sure still why he didn't take over the kicking. Libbok wasn't very good off the tee, and Faf de Klerk, obviously, he's not meant to be kicking off the tee, and he didn't produce the results. So now it was time for Rassie and Jacques Nienaber to really put their thinking caps on how they can use Handré Pollard, because we all know how good Handré Pollard is off the tee. So that's where the Tonga game comes in. Pollard starts against Tonga, and he ends up kicking 4 out of 4 kicks. Manie Libbok replaces him for the last 30 minutes, and then Manie kicks 3 out of 3 kicks. So maybe the competition of Handré Pollard coming in really pushed Manie Libbok to try and be a little bit better. But we've seen Manie Libbok's kicking record over the past sort of 5 or 6 games before the World Cup in the group stages. We know how good Handré Pollard was off the tee, and now it was time for the quarterfinals. Who was going to start against France? Well, Manie Libbok started. He played the first half and he kicked 2 out of 3 kicks. Pollard comes on in the second half, kicks 2 out of 2 kicks. So again, Handré Pollard out kicks him there in terms of success rates. Libbok starts then against England, kicks 1 out of 1 kick, but then gets subbed off in the 31st minute for Handré Pollard, who then again kicks 2 from 2 kicks, winning us the game very late on with that penalty just over the halfway line. And then the Springboks move into a final against New Zealand, their old foes who they've beaten 35-7 a couple of months before this, with Manie Libbok starting. Who were they going to start against New Zealand, Manie Libbok or Handré Pollard? Well, Handré Pollard ended up starting and playing 80 minutes. He ended up kicking 4 from 4 kicks in that game, and South Africa ended up winning that game by 1 point, as we know. Handré Pollard for the entire World Cup tournament went 12 kicks from 12 kicks, a 100% success rate. So I'm going to bring up what Rassie said again. If Manie Libbok is kicking well, he is better than Handré Pollard. Now, Manie did prove again over this past weekend against La Rochelle. He missed that last kick. Against La Rochelle, he missed a couple. Yes, it was very windy, but you can't help but think if Handré Pollard was in that situation, he would be able to slot those kicks. So I'm not saying Manie Libbok is worse than Handré Pollard. I'm not saying Handré Pollard is worse than Manie Libbok. What I'm saying is that for the game plan the Springboks want to play, depending on the game, depending on the opposition, I think we have 2 very, very good fly-offs. One, Manie Libbok, who's very good in open play, who has a strong kicking game from hand, who's very good at defense. On the other hand, we have Handré Pollard, who's a little bit more experienced, who's done it in back-to-back World Cups, who is pinpoint accurate off the tee. He can still do the job in open play. Maybe he's not as elusive and threatening as Manie Libbok, but I do think the Springboks are blessed with 2 very good fly-offs that can pull off different things in different situations, and that becomes very lethal because they can start Manie Libbok in a lot of games, and if he's not kicking well, they can bring on Handré Pollard. But if Manie Libbok is playing well, then they can just keep Manie Libbok on, because as Rassie says, if he's kicking well, he is a better in-play fly-off than Handré Pollard. There's been a lot of debates about this over the past couple of days, and especially through the World Cup, but I do think they're 2 fly-offs that can be utilized differently. They provide different advantages and disadvantages, and I think if used in the correct way together, they're an absolute lethal combination. As always, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave this video a like, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take it easy. Peace.